Overview of DEQ's new Your DEQ Online system and instructions and a guide on how to set up an account, then you're in the right place. Also, the meeting is being recorded. We will be able to post this to the Your DEQ Online help page after the meeting in the next day or so. So it'll be available there. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get started. Let's see, and Liz, you can still see my screen, is that right?
Yes, I can.
Okay, great. So I'll just go back a sec. My name is Margaret Gardner. I am the change manager for the project, which maybe sounds mysterious to some folks. Change manager really just means, in terms of a project, helping people get through the change. This is a technology change, so we have a lot of technical staff and business analysts to assess and analyze what our processes are that are changing. Part of my role is, how do people navigate that change? How does it change people's experience of their work, whether DEQ staff or whether people who work with us from the public, from the regulated community. Also, I'm a Your DEQ Online trainer. The YDO that you see here is our quick and easy way to say Your DEQ Online. So you may come across that in some of our materials. Liz is with me today. She is my fellow panelist who will help me to answer questions, and we'll talk about how you can pose questions and raise your hand and stuff in a sec. She's a business analyst on the project and then also a Your DEQ Online trainer. And I believe Wendy is with us, who is our help desk specialist. So Wendy is our hub of all help and assistance for this system. She is one of our key players in making sure that people's questions and concerns get answered and they get the help they need, whether from her, which she does a great job helping folks out, or whether she needs to refer them to others. So we team up and we make this work. So thanks for joining me, you two. So I mentioned that I'd talk about how to ask questions, how to raise your hand and such. So you can listen either through your computer or you can call in by phone with the number that was provided in the registration email. So some folks may be, I see that some people have called in by phone and some have are using their online interface on Zoom. There is a chat bubble that you would see on your kind of toolbar of Zoom. Feel free to use that for chat. We actually use that more so for communicating to you answers to questions or notes about the meeting, but really what's preferred, I think, and what's possibly more helpful for you all is the Q&A, where you can see a couple bubbles in that diagram. Q&A is where, when you ask a question, we as panelists can see it very easily, and it stays on the list until we have answered it. So sometimes a chat, if you've been in meetings where people just keep adding to the chat, it can scroll and scroll, and then you lose track of what's where. We love using Q&A because we don't lose track of questions. We very much want to answer your questions as they come up. Also, if you raise your hand and would like to speak, I can go ahead and unmute your microphone so that you can say your question too. So we have a small group today. I think there are maybe under 20 of us, all in total. So fine with me if people want to speak. If we had a larger meeting in the hundreds, it might be difficult to do. So anyway, that's how to participate in the Zoom meeting, just so that you're oriented. Before I move forward though, does anybody have questions about that? If Zoom is new to you, please feel free to ask a question. I want to make sure people are comfortable with this way of connecting and sharing information so that you feel like you can be part of it. And if you do have a question, click on the Q&A and let us know. So I don't see any Q&A questions right now, which means we're ready to go forward. So the topics for today are, what is this your DEQ Online system? We'll talk about what your DEQ Online is very briefly. We'll talk about how to use the public access portion of it that doesn't require a login. And then we'll talk about registering an account. We'll talk in general about types of accounts, and we'll go through the steps that it takes to register an account. And we'll also cover how to get further training for the specific programs that you work with at DEQ and the support that is available to help with that. Also, we have time at the end of this session where we can stick around to help answer any additional questions. So feel free to raise your hand during the meeting or ask a question during the meeting, but we'll also have time at the end of the meeting. So one thing I wanted to very briefly mention, I was told that many of the people registered for this class today, they work with the asbestos program at DEQ. So curious to know, let me see if one of my polls would cover this. No, I don't have a question in my polls about who's concerned about which programs, but knowing that a lot of people are here who have a stake in how this changes things for asbestos, I just want to briefly say communication has been shared through email and Gov delivery lists, but I'll mention here that our original launch date of August 3rd has been delayed, and that's to make absolutely sure that the system is ready. We needed to resolve some issues with data. Part of the rationale for this modernization is that we're using systems that are our legacy systems that are outdated in some ways. So that can present some challenges here and there. So moving data to this new system it can present some challenges. We're actually in great shape. We've really solved the issues that we were confronting, and now it's a matter of determining what the next go live date is, and it really should be fairly soon. I would say within the next week or two. It won't be very long, but I can say communication will go out in the next day or so of what that date is, and that's an email that would go directly to people who work with asbestos. So if you've already received emails about that, you'll get another update. If you would like to be added to communications for asbestos, go ahead and let me know in the chat, and we'll capture that information. I have your email through your registration, so you don't have to broadcast that there, but you can just let us know if you would like to make sure you're on those emails. So with that said, we'll go ahead and get into our topic. And also apologies for that delay. That's not uncommon for a big technology project. Oh, I see that there is something in the chat here. Yes, please add us to the asbestos communication distribution list. So that's Emily Weiss, and if you have any other names with your group, so I see add us and I see one name, Emily Weiss. If there's anyone else, you can go ahead and add your name to this list. Or if you have other people attending with you today in the same room as you with a shared Zoom, go ahead and type their name in. Okay, great. Thanks, Emily. And then it looks like Tina Stewart as well. So Liz, if you wouldn't mind jotting that down so that we have it outside of the Zoom meeting as well, then I can quickly follow up with Audrey to make sure those folks are on.
Sure thing, I'll do that.
And then Regalada and Amanda. Great. So I see names coming in. I'm going to let Liz go ahead and capture those. Feel free to continue adding your name if you'd like to make sure you get that follow-up email. So, and also I'm going to be, I believe, I will be able to send a follow-up email to this list, I believe, so that I can just make extra sure that you know where the next training dates are going to be listed. So what is your DEQ Online? Here we see the public portal. This is one system for DEQ for many programs, not all DEQ programs, but many of them. That includes asbestos, hazardous waste, gasoline transporter permits, and many others. The 3 that I just mentioned are the ones that are actually using the system now, and it's moving forward in waves. But this image that you see in front of you here is what the public portal looks like. So we have an agency portal that DEQ staff log into. It goes to the same central system, but it's a different pathway in for our staff login. So you have the public portal that's based on your account registration. So what is this system? It is a technology solution that helps a lot of our programs partner with you to be more efficient and effective. This is helping us to protect environmental quality in Oregon by making sure that our communication and our processes are standard and clear and as transparent as we can make them, to make sure that we have the same processes that we use across the state, that we practice fairness and accessibility in how we do our work. We're a state agency, and this is a service to the public. So a system like this really helps us deliver. It also, because it is more centralized, it's easier to maintain. It is more consistent in general for everyone to use. And you will notice some common features that pop up as I show you some screenshots when we walk through this. So what is your DEQ Online? It's cloud-based. We're at a point in technology history where we can have a cloud-based system, a system that lives out in the cloud, but is also secure. Remember early on when they were talking about, oh, cloud technology, and there was the concern that that means maybe it's less secure, more people have access. There is actually now enough technology in place to make sure this is a secure system. And electronic payment has been around for a long time now. Long time in technology years, right? Which feels like eons in technology, but is only about a decade or so. So secure payments are possible, which is really exciting if you're going from delivering cash payments or check payments to being able to pay online. Huge leap forward. It's safe and secure for payments and also for the data, so that we can make sure that that is secure and valid and we can continue to track that. Public published content can be searched without a request if it's published in the system by DEQ staff. So there is an interface where you can click without even having a login to just see what submittals have been published and what has been issued that is public facing. You can access it from any browser. I should really start at the top of this list because I want to make sure you know that Internet Explorer, which is problematic for a lot of different kinds of technology these days, is not a good fit for this system, but Chrome and Firefox and Safari and these other systems are. So if you're using a browser like that, that's fine. I've talked about standardization across Oregon, and that does add predictability and stability. Also, the primary contact point for a lot of groups, it reduces our carbon footprint, our use of resources, which saves us money and saves us resources, and it has us living up to the agency's mission in a more effective way. Also, because this is a cloud-based system that we are receiving from a vendor that is an expert in this, we get the value of that dedicated expert support from a vendor. Infotech is the vendor who provides this environmental data management system, the same system to many agencies across the country in other parts of the world. Excuse me. So they know their business, and we are configuring it to make sure that it works for us at DEQ. So I see that the list is growing on who would like to be included in the notifications. That's wonderful. And we'll see, I don't see any Q&A yet. That's great. I say it's great, but actually I love questions too. So questions are great too. So I mentioned public access. There is a button on the portal. This is the login portal where you would enter your username, your password. This button at the bottom, right next to register account, forget password, public records is, if you can see that, I know with my eyes, I have to really lean in here. On your own screen, it's probably going to look a little different. So you can click there and you immediately see what the public records information looks like. So it's immediate access without a login to what DEQ has published here. We still have a public records request process. We still have a public records system for initiating requests for all of our public information. But what you can very easily look up here is any submittals and any permits. So you see submittal info here, you see permit info here. Excuse me a sec. All this talking. When you're in a page like this, you have a couple different ways you can toggle to view the information. You can enter search criteria in different ways. And what's available on the Your DEQ Online help.oregon.gov page is a recorded video demonstration that Liz has put together. So if you're curious about this, you can click on that link and just poke around in it to check it out, or you can watch the video demonstration that talks through it and walks through it. As I mentioned, it doesn't replace public records request system. And if there's sensitive information, anything that is personal sensitive information or confidential business information, we have processes in place to protect that so that that is not published. And we are careful stewards of that information. So registering an account. This is what our topic is for today. And this is the main focus of it, besides the overview that just gets you familiar with what the system is about. And we're back at this, yet another image of the public portal. You can see beautiful backgrounds of scenery across Oregon. We are in just an absolutely beautiful state. Clicking the middle button at the bottom here, register an account, takes you through a typical account registration. It'll be very similar to registering for other accounts with a few caveats, and we're going to go through those. Also, you'll see, I think you may have noticed at the bottom of this public portal page, you'll see that there's information to be able to link over to the help desk or call the help desk or go to the online page. So you can email, call, or go to the help desk page. So there are ways to get to us if you have questions as you go. But once we walk through this, I think you'll see that some of these steps are very straightforward and make a lot of sense, and some of them require some decision making. So once you click the button that is register an account, it takes you to a page that has a couple of tabs across the top. This one says basic information, and in a kind of grayed out tone is account type, security questions, final review. Those are not active yet until you complete certain steps. So first you enter basic information, and then it moves you across this flow. You'll see this when it's time to do a submittal of some kind. You'll notice that this system is set up that way. It walks you through the steps. When there's a required field, you can see that it's highlighted. Now, I've gone ahead and filled out the fields in this example, but if they were not filled out, you'd see a red outline around it and a little mention with the word that says required. So it's very clear which fields are required, and the ones that are optional are just that, they're optional. So the basic information is, here we have basic information at the tab, but when we look at the top of this page in very tiny lettering, sorry about that, it says personal info. But what that means is individual information, your specific information, because these accounts are based on you as an individual rather than a group. You wouldn't be able to register a whole group with one email because that email is specific to that one person. So there's no need to use a personal email unless that's what you normally do for the business you do with DEQ. Let's say you're putting in your title, your first name, your last name, and I just have filler information here. Your employer, your job position, There's the office phone number. If you wanted to add another number, a fax number. Your email address is unique to you. If somebody else wants to sign up for an account, they cannot also use that email. Now, the reason this is important is because for responsible officials, there's actually, if you can see on the left-hand side here, in one of the steps is verify identity. That verification is based on you as an individual, and that's where you would enter your personal information through a secure interface. But here is where you enter your individual information for your company, or if you as an individual are submitting some kind of application or form or reporting or notification through the system, you would enter whatever your information is that you want to have as part of this account. Billing preference. I click here, notify by email. If I'm going to an electronic system, I may as well make it electronic, but you can choose to be notified by mail as well when it's time for, if there's billing involved. Selecting an account type. This is where the choice comes in that is less obvious, right? Filling out a form for your registration of your account, your information seems pretty straightforward. But when it comes to which account type, that's where it helps to know a little more about the system. So there are 3 account types. There's the general public. There's the consultant or preparer, which is a kind of delegated role, and we'll talk about that. And then there's the responsible official. So these 3 roles have, it's almost like a tier of membership. Let's say you join a club and the basic membership gives you a certain amount of ability to do things. The next level gives you more options. And then the third level maybe is the Cadillac. The responsible official is the Cadillac account for your DEQ Online. So if you're the person that's going to be making the decision to click a final submit button and be the responsible person, if there's any follow-up or clarification needed, then C is your choice. Now I want to put a little poll up here to ask folks, if you know, based on this information, what you would select. So there's a poll, and the way this works is I have a list of questions here that you can click on your answer. So what type of your DEQ account would you need? And you can select all that apply. You can do multiple ones. Let's say you're not sure. Or if you're not sure at all, you know, you can always put not sure. Let's say you're a consultant for one company, but you're actually the responsible official for another company. That's possible as well. And the general public account. So you can see the description there of what those involve, and that can help you make the decision. I see a lot of folks are answering responsible official. If everybody is done, I can give it another couple seconds and then I'll close this poll so we can keep moving forward. I think everybody has weighed in who wants to. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and share the results now. So here's, if you can see this, and Liz, is this viewable for everybody, do you think? Are you able to see it?
Yeah, it should be viewable by everybody.
Great. So the responsible official, this is not uncommon. It's the most popular account. It gives you the most ability to do things, but also, you know, especially if it's a one-person operation, then the responsible official is the obvious choice. There's some steps involved if you need to connect with a consultant or preparer. And for the general public, we'll talk about that as well. I believe my next slide talks about a little more about what the roles are. So we've gone ahead and gotten some input from you all. The general public, this is those tiers of membership. The general public can make a payment with an invoice reference number, and that reference number is really important because it needs to tie to the facility that owes that payment, right? Can respond to authority issued public notices and actually add attachments if needed, can manage their account and contact information. So when you have a general public account, it gives you some basic abilities in the system. There is the capability, if you didn't have a general public account, to still participate in public notice, but you don't have all the features that are available to someone with an account. See, and then consultant preparer. Additionally to that, this is someone who's able to prepare submittals. They would need to be linked by the RO, or responsible official. RO is our abbreviation for responsible official. They can pay invoices, submit charges, submittal charges, again, as linked by the responsible official. They can look at data, they can enter data, they can do messages, they can track the progress of submittals. There's really a lot that consultants or preparers can do, but the responsible official is that next level. So the responsible official, when they set up their account, links to their own associated facility or site and their own associated submittal types, such as asbestos. They also are able to go in and with their own ability to link or their own links that they have, their facilities, they're able to delegate those links to consultants. They can also, the responsible official really is the only role that can click that final submit button, you know, complete submittal, because they're responsible for reviewing and seeing it. They're on the hook, and they need to be the one that gives that final okay. And we'll talk about that a little bit because it does involve answering a security question and entering a PIN, which is also part of account setup. They can also amend and renew and withdraw and manage submittals. They would need to complete an identity verification. So I talked about that earlier, how an account is really tied to an individual. So we'll talk a little more about that. When you're choosing your account, and what I'm going to do is from here, as we go through the process on the list on the left here, we're going to be talking not just about starting the registration and picking the account type, but how to activate that account. And then the next two steps, like step 4 and 5, if these had numbers, these are specific to responsible officials. They're specific to what the responsible official needs to do, but the consultant's dependent on it. So if you're a consultant, you're kind of depending on that responsible official to take these steps. So if you are a consultant, once you've gotten your account all squared away and you've finished the third step here on the list, send that RO your email and say, this is the email I'm using in the system, so you can link me, and we'll talk more about that. So basic information, let's say that has been added, you filled it out. Account type, let's say you've selected responsible official. The next step is security questions. Now, everyone who sets up an account answers these security questions. If you have an account that's online for your bank, similar kind of thing. If you have an account online for some of the other types of things we do online these days, you'll see security questions. And these layers of security may seem fussy, but really they're there to protect us. So you would answer these 5 questions, and the way that they pop back up again is that when you are submitting a submittal, when you're clicking that final button, one of these will randomly pop up and you'll need to be able to answer it. So all account types complete this step, but as part of finalizing submittals, the responsible official is the one who needs to answer their own security questions. And this is also something that could come up if there are some concerns about, you know, accessing your account and you can't get in or what have you, but there is a more simple, you know, password reset process. It's pretty typical. This really does set up the security for the types of activity that happen here in the system. I don't see any questions in Q&A so far, but if you do come up with questions, please go ahead and pop them in there. We'll go to the next one. So final review is our next step. If you can click the box to prove that you're not a robot, I believe what pops up is an image that's in a grid and you click all the buttons that have whatever it is. Let's say it's a crosswalk set of pictures. Check all the boxes that show part of a crosswalk in them. It's a validation that you're a human being and it's not some automated system that's setting up this account. It's another layer of security. Once you have finished that and you have proven that you're a human being, you can go ahead and click register, and then you get this message that says registration successful. Congratulations. We don't streamers don't fly out. There's no balloons that go up into the air, but there is this little mini celebration and an email. So you need to check your email box once you see this, because in that email is going to be the instructions on finalizing the setup of your account. So it finishes the confirmation of your account. And at that point, if you're a consultant or a general public account, you're done. If you're not, if you're a responsible official, couple more steps. So registration successful, following the email. The key pieces in the email are to activate your account. That's what you want to do. You go ahead and click. Now this link that I show you here is from the sample site where I took my images, but it won't have that little UAT. It'll be a URL similar to what you see here. It'll say Gov Online in it, and the credentials are temporary. Your login name is not temporary, but your password and your PIN are. I should also mention this. When you are entering your basic information, and I hope you'll forgive me for going back on the slides, but I think you're going to like this. Going back to basic information. So I enter here first name and last name. And what it does is it generates a username. The system generates it. But what's nice about this is if there is a name that you would like to have that is not already in use, this is your one and only chance associated with the email you enter here to go ahead and customize that. So username you can customize just at this step. Once you move forward, it's finalized. So now here's that account type. We talked about the different types of accounts, security questions, and finalizing, and now we're at the email. So that username is appearing right here in login name that you see on that line there. Temporary password, gobbledygook, alphabet soup, temporary PIN, alphabet soup. You'll be able to change these. So there's also a note here that your PIN is going to be required, and you can always update your password and your PIN at any time once you've logged into your system or logged into your account. Now, if you're at this point and if for some reason there's something that doesn't look right, or let's say you click on this link and it's not quite working, that is a very far-fetched example for me to be coming up with because it's not going to happen. But if you need to contact the help desk, that information is also right here on the email. So what you'll see next when you click on that link is you will see a prompt to go ahead and log in with your temporary password. So you use the temporary password from the email confirmation. That's the first step. Next step, go ahead and change the password. Next step, go ahead and change that PIN. So this is where you can see red right there. That's where you would enter the alphabet soup, which is your, temporary password. And then, oh no, I'm sorry. You wouldn't enter that. Let's see. You're entering your temporary password on the first screen. Sorry, I'm misspeaking here. It populates a screen that asks you to enter the password of your choice and then repeat it. See how this is just like other setups, right? There's such familiar stuff here. If you click on the eyeball icon, you can actually see what you're typing instead of mysterious dots and you're wondering, I thought those matched. They don't match. You can actually see what you're typing and make sure that it matches. And then you would click update password. With the PIN, you would just go ahead and type in the PIN of your choice and type it again, and it needs to match. Once you've done that, it takes you to you know, Wendy, I wonder if I should check with you on this. Does it take you to the login and then you use your new login address? Because it's very typical for systems. Or does it take you directly to your account or the dashboard? Either way, you know the drill. Once you know your login and you know where to go for that login, you can go ahead and log in and you're all set. So to finish setting up your account, this is now activated. But after logging in, there are a couple different ways to navigate through the system to go to the My Account section. But this gives you a view, this screen. This is the lay of the land. When you log in, this is generally the kind of thing that you would see. There are choices across the top. There's, once you click on the little 3 bars at the top here, you'll see different things open up. And on the menu to the left, there is My Account. So the next step to really finish your setup, to do the rest of the responsible official setup, is to go to My Account. You can find it here where there's a little badge, or up in the far right corner, and I have like the little image of the state of Oregon here. You can click, and my first name in the system was Info in this example. Probably should have picked a human name. But if you click on that, that'll also take you to your account. So, you know, similar to other things like Microsoft Word, there are a few different ways to get to where you need to go. Really, the effort is to try to make it easy for you. Once you have gone to your account, what you want to do is, remember that tab that said basic information? Well, that's there. You can always revisit and make adjustments. And then the next tab is account type. And that's where you chose either RO or consultant or general. And that's where you can also make changes. Password and PIN, you can update that. Security questions. Let's say you consistently keep forgetting what that one security question answer was. Well, once you're back into the system, go ahead and update it so that it's something you can remember. And then also consultants, which we'll visit in a second. First step for a responsible official to verify their identity is to go through the process of e-verify. So we're on the verification tab. And again, because this person responsible is in the very name of the account type, they need to be verified as someone who can be responsible as an individual. Now, this is a system, it is a function that is provided to us by like a world-renowned identity verification company, LexisNexis, right? That's one of the things they do. They are secure. Any information that you enter into this does not get saved in your DEQ online. It immediately goes to LexisNexis for verification. So it is secure. It asks for information that's about you, not as an employee, but as an individual. This is where you would enter, you know, your first name, middle, last name. Definitely whatever is marked red is required. And when it's time to enter your address, you can see some instructions right here. Make sure you're using your personal home information, because again, this is identity validation for an individual. If you've moved in the past 6 months, please use your previous home address. Let's see. And then if this goes through successfully, what you see is, let's see. My understanding is it's absolutely immediate that you are validated. Enter your information, you click submit, it's validated, and you're ready to go. You're ready to use the system. If there's some kind of glitch and it takes a few tries, you get up to 3 tries to go through this. I sometimes transpose numbers, get numbers a little bit scrambled. So if I'm entering my street address, I mean, by now I should really nail that, right? But sometimes with some numbers, I'll switch them around. So it's, you know, we're human beings entering numbers into a machine. So sometimes that happens. It gives you those 3 chances to run through this. If all 3 chances don't quite work, there is another option, because we're always going to have a path for you to be able to get this set up. And that is option 2. So option 2 is not something to start with. E-verify is what you start with. It is the quickest way to get through this. Option 2, electronic signature agreement. This is a process that is has been blessed by the EPA. It is based on their standards for electronic signature agreement. And what you would do for this is print, you would fill out the information, follow the instructions on that form. It's all right there. Now that does take a little longer. And let's see, I think on the next step, yeah, I have a little closer screenshot of E-Verify. So I don't want to get ahead of myself. You can see here, options left, 3. This is before I have filled in information. Now, when I enter information into a form, I am sensitive about my identity information. I know that identity theft is a thing we need to be concerned about in the world. As I said, this is a verification that is a secure system. So although it's asking for the last 4 of your social, that is not stored in your DEQ online. Once you enter this information and it is registered through the vendor, LexisNexis, it is done. The verification is complete. We don't hold on to that. So just want to reassure you of that. I know it's something that I like to be reassured about. It's important to me. So if you need to go to option 2, that means a wet signature. That means filling out the form, printing it, signing it, and then mailing it or delivering it to DEQ. And that could be any of the DEQ offices. And eventually they get channeled to headquarters. There is about a week-long window where once we get that in the mail, we process that. But if we don't see that in the mail, we can't really give that access. So what we do is, if you would like to expedite this, there is a way to do that. So we know that, sending something through the mail takes some time. So if you fail 3 times, or not that you fail, but if the system doesn't capture your information after 3 attempts in E-Verify, and you really have to use this ESA, there is hope. We will try to make it as quick as we can. You can get a faster processing if you also email the form to our email address, which is the help desk, and we have a fax number. This is also listed in the instruction documents for setting up your account. So you can send it that way. And then what we'll do at the help desk is we will process the validation based on what you emailed to us, but we also need that signed paper to eventually arrive at DEQ, because the wet signature is the legal document. So if you do this through email, just make sure you pop the physical one in the mail with your signature at the same time. And that way everything goes smoothly. So successful verification, what will happen is, because this is not E-Verify, you won't immediately get a bubble popping up in the system and be able to move forward. Instead, DEQ will let you know by email, and your email that you used in the account. DEQ will activate your privileges to be able to start using your abilities in the system. If the form lacks the required information, like a missing signature or other necessary information, then DEQ will reach out to you. We work hard to make this as accessible as we can for people. And you can see that we have a process in place, but your life is easier if you use E-Verify, and that's nice when that works. We have not had any issues. The issues that we have had that have come up have been a matter of either a website kind of holding information after the first attempt that might have been, a misspelled word or something, and then someone having to kind of close their browser, clear the cache, reopen it. But the help desk can talk you through that if something like that happens. It's very rare. So E-Verify is a great way to do that. We have about 15 minutes left of just the presentation, and I want to cover how to set up links. I don't think that will take a very long time, and I also want to talk about the help desk, but I'm going to quickly hop over to this question. Jessica Olson asks, if we currently have an account with DEQ, do we still need to register online, or how is our current account linked to our online account? So, really good question. Jessica, I don't know if you can add to that question, but do you already have a Your DEQ Online account? So that's one question for you in order to answer your question. And then the other one is, if you do, is it for another one of the programs that has launched in this system? If so, my answer would be, you don't need to register a whole new account. You just you make an additional selection in the next steps that I'm going to talk about. So feel free to add another question or a comment if you can clarify your question, whether you're talking about already having a Your DEQ Online account. Because if you do have a current Your DEQ Online, really you only need that one account, and it's just a matter of enhancing it if you work with a couple different programs. And that is the juicy part that I'm getting to right now. So perfect timing on your question. So linking, if you already have an account and it's a responsible official account, then you would have gone into the system and set up links to facilities, or I'm sorry, to submittal groups, which would be asbestos, hazardous waste, or others. And then also the facilities that you work with. So once you have made links for your account, and I'll show you some screenshots of that, then you can go into that consultant tab that we saw that was part of your account, and you can go ahead and enter the exact email address of the consultant you want to select. You can ask them, hey, did you set up an account yet? What is your email address? You may already know their email address. Go ahead and enter that, and their whole little account will pop up, a little line will pop up, and you'll be able to assign them to the facility and then to specific submittal types. So this is just a very general overview, but I'll go a little deeper here. And let's say you already have an RO account. Well, you would go in, and if you have additional submittal types, let's say, oh, asbestos is about to go live. I want to add that. I already have Haz Waste. Let's go ahead and add asbestos. You would just go back in, just like when you set up your account initially, and you would add that. You would check another box. So let's see. Oops, I went backwards somehow. All right, there we go. So the way that we do this is, remember the basic information. This is my little anchor pointing that out. The second step was account type. And the top dot there that is just slightly off the screen there is responsible official, or RO. So when you do click that, and after your account is confirmed and everything, you've gone through your email and you've responded, set up your password, what you'll see here is choices. And there are submittal groups. So submittal groups include, let's go down the list. I checked all kinds of boxes. This was like a candy store. I just checked. So as a lot of these are not online yet. This was the test system. But what we do have online now is hazardous waste for signing up for accounts, asbestos, gasoline transporter permits, greenhouse gas reporting for certain reporters. So let's say you're clicking, you already have hazardous waste clicked. You would go back to your account type page and you would click asbestos and add that. If you haven't checked any because this is your first time, go ahead and check the boxes that apply to you. And the next step, right under that section, is the facilities. So this is where that data migration is really important. First, it's, in drop-down menus, when you're going through a submittal, there's ways that we make that submittal easier so that you have easy choices to click on. And some of that data needs to be migrated. That's in progress for asbestos, but that's already happened for the groups that have already gone live. And the facilities that work with these programs that have gone live, their information is loaded into the system. You would be able to find your facility here. And I want to mention something. If you can't find your facility, I have something to mention about that. But the first step is to search. You could search by the first name of your facility or the title of your facility. You could search by a portion of the address. Enter into the search bar whatever piece of the facility to find it. It's really great to find that facility and not initiate a new facility if it's already in there, because we really want to make sure the data is valid and we don't have multiple accounts. So the first step is to search for your facility and then select it. once you have selected it, then it appears in your list. So click the save button, and what happens is you have all your check boxes, and down here in facilities, you can see Alaska Tanker Company listed there. There's this little loop with a line through it, which is a symbol of a hyperlink that's being broken. That is the delete. Let's say you no longer work there. You've cut ties with that company, you're onto another company. You can click that link and unlink to that company. So that's always a possibility. Next step, consultants. And let me see, I see an anonymous attendee, very mysterious, anonymous attendee. If there's numerous people that need to access our account, can we all be ROs? Also, do all documents go towards our company profile if we individually enter a document? Okay, so I love this question. Here's what I love about this question, Anonymous. I love your modesty with the anonymous attendee, but I think that if you shared your name, we'd be able to celebrate you, because I'm glad that you brought this up. I'm sorry I didn't already cover this. The system is really centered around the facility. So you can have multiple ROs for one facility, and all that kind of sharing of information and transparency that I was talking about, it really comes together, because if, let's say, you and two other ROs are connected to the same facility, you all, oh, hi, Mona. You all have that visibility of your facility. You can share that access. No longer is it hiding in individual emails and you're like, oh, could you send me that document? Or could you, can you put that file in my inbox, physical papers? No, this is now available to all of you. So let's say you have a team of 3 ROs. Of course, you have those 3 unique email addresses that you're using rather than a shared account. But the account you're mentioning in your question, I think about as the facility or the site or the company, right? So that central facility is something you can all connect to, and you can connect consultants to. And that information is in one place. That includes things like if you have an exchange, let's say with asbestos, to have a send back, maybe more information is needed. You'll see that history of that discussion. So no longer is it cordoned off into one little channel and you need someone to relay it to you. You can see that for that facility. So great question. Yes, you can have multiple ROs for one facility, and any documents that are associated with that, the DEQ would click that as viewable to the applicant. And I believe that means anyone who has that responsibility. And you would be able to, let's see, do all documents go towards our company profile? Yes, all the documents are associated with that one facility, company, site, what have you. Yep. So I'm delighted to answer that question, because I think it's one of the great benefits of this system. Jessica, I wanted to revisit, did I answer your question? I just want to confirm that I did. I hope so. Well, you just let me know if I haven't. I'm going to go ahead and click that as answered, because I just want to make sure that we have captured that. Okay. Maybe have another question. Oh, yes. Thanks, Jessica. Yes. Okay, good. Thanks. So, yes, see, Mona, how your question is the gift that keeps giving. Jessica confirmed that that actually helped her as well. Really good. This is the value of the people who ask the questions. You share your curiosity and we get to share those answers with everyone. So we just visited the page that was, let's see, that was setting up your own account first, and now delegating to a consultant. Remember these tabs across the top, I keep pointing out: basic information, account type. Well, there's that consultant tab. So you would enter in the email address, the exact email address to find that consultant, click find, and then that person's name, and that's me, that person's name comes up as the consultant. Now, there are showing up as a result, but in order to connect them, you need to click the link. So I've entered that email address. I've clicked find consultant, and this is what I see. Oh, here's a choice. There's not going to be multiple people with one email address. So it really is just going to dig through the system and immediately pull up that one person with that email address. When you click that little chain link symbol, the little link, you go ahead and do that, and then it's linked. You click save. And the consultant, you know, as I mentioned before, the consultant needs to already have a registered account. They need to go through step 1, 2, and 3. Start, pick account, activate account. Once they've done that, they're in the system. So we click save, and then, oh good, now this is in blue here. This is a consultant that's associated with my account now. And what I can do is click the little blue arrow to open up what their permissions are. I can't give them permission that I don't already have. I can delegate what I have and share it with them, but I can't assign them a company that I don't already have the link with. I can't associate them with a submittal group or submittal type unless I already have that. So it's your oxygen mask first, for an analogy that sounds like an emergency. This is not an emergency. So you go ahead and have your consultant here, you click the arrow, and then you can add the site. And when you click on the arrow here, luckily it's going to be a nice narrow list of choices because it will only list the facilities that you have already linked to. Your company, if you work with a couple companies, they'll be listed there. Choose from those. Once you do that, you go over to the submittal column and you select from there. You can only select one at a time. But once you select that one, let's see, maybe a consultant does a few different types of submittals for you. Then you go ahead and enter this one, you save it, you add another one. It's just like adding another row. It's very quick to do. You don't have to repeat it after this. It's already set up. So this one-time setup, and it's done. And this is that example of the submittals to choose from. Now it lists all the submittals you have access to. And remember all those boxes I checked? 401, asbestos, hazardous waste. That's why there's a huge list here. I signed up for all of them. And here's my little company. It's already in there. And then I go ahead and select which one of these I want. And then I click save. So now you can see here is my consultant. Here is the consultant's permission. Here is their, their site, and their site is interchangeable with company or facility. You may be catching on. It's like there's the site, facility, location, company. There's a lot of layers to that, ways we can, a lot of terminology for that. And a submittal is another one of those words where that stands for permit, notification, reporting obligation, all these different things that it could be, but it's something you submit to DEQ, essentially. And you can see another window here. I can add this to the list, add another one. I could choose the same site, a different submittal. I could use a different site, different submittal, as long as I myself have access to it. Any other questions coming in? Feel free to pipe up. We're at 3:59. I'm right towards the end here. So I went over our account setup, and we have a document here. If you go to, if you type into your browser, your DEQ online help, all lowercase, all one run-on word, .oregon.gov, it's gonna pop this help page right up. Here's where you can see links to information, how to search public records. There is a series of tabs that you can click on to open up, and asbestos, for example, is a new one that's been added. When you click on it, you can see things like account registration, user guide. You can click on that and it shows you what I showed you today. Because I was spoken word, my slides were pretty minimal, but in that document, it's more descriptive. You can also see here the portal login. You can see links to the different places where you can get help. For people signing up for asbestos, we recommend that you wait till go live to make sure all the data is there. And part of that reason is you won't be able to start a submittal until we have finalized go live. Here I go with the dry. So once that's in place, smooth sailing. Let's see, any questions? See if I have more. Right, so here's an example of what a training page might look like if you click on one of those drop downs. This happens to be one of the programs that already started in May. But you can see there are user guides under that menu. There are webinars to sign up for. This is also where the webinar recordings get posted. It's a treasure trove of resources and information. There's also the help desk, which is a technical kind of triage for technical issues. So feel free to use that if you're having a technical issue. So here we are at discussions. I know we're at 4:01, and I am sorry to say that is